Cancorla, and at the outset can I, on behalf of Sinn Féin, wish the leader of the Labour Party, Alan Kelly, well following his announcement last night that he has resigned his role. My best regards to him and to his family. I also want to welcome Linda Irvine to the Seanad today. I know she's speaking for Seachtain na Gaeilge, and I know we would all wish to give her a fáilte mór from this House and to acknowledge the great work that she has done on the Irish language in East Belfast. It's well known throughout the 32 counties and beyond. I want to record once again, Taoiseach, our absolute condemnation of the actions of the Russian invasion in Ukraine and to extend our solidarity to the Ukrainian people at this time. I want to welcome the unanimous agreement of the Dáil last night to pass a motion condemning Russia's actions and supporting the territorial integrity of Ukraine. I welcome the significant and the severe economic sanctions that have been put in place by the international community as part of the efforts to get Vladimir Putin to realise the futility of his actions. Those sanctions are working if one looks at the impact that they already have on the Russian monetary system. I hope that this unprecedented diplomatic response will open up the possibility of a resolution to this crisis. I believe that the way out of this, as with any conflict, is through politics and through dialogue. Undoubtedly, those severe sanctions are going to impact on ordinary citizens right across Europe and further afield too. The Taoiseach has already acknowledged that this will be the case. The price of oil and gas on international markets is on the rise once again, and this follows massive price rises already, which are already putting huge pressure on households throughout this state and contributing to the massive increase in the cost of living. That is particularly the case in the west of Ireland, in counties like my own in Mayo, where half of the homes use heating oil as their main home heating fuel because of the lack of public transport, have no choice but to pay the ever-increasing proportions of their low incomes for petrol and diesel. One hospital appointment alone in Galway or Dublin can take up to a whole week's income for those already struggling to survive. But what I want to ask you, Taoiseach, is what is the EU plan to help alleviate the impact of economic sanctions that are going to have on ordinary people, and have those discussions already begun? And what is on the table to help households here and across Europe in negating the worst impacts of energy price increases on workers and families? Because, Taoiseach, people want something immediately. People want something to be done. They need to feel it in their pockets. They need to feel it in their household incomes. They are already struggling. I acknowledge some of the measures that have been done, but some of them, as you will know, even in higher education, don't kick in until September. The months between now and September are going to be long and arduous for many, many households throughout this state.
Thank you, David. Taoiseach.
Thanks very much, and just want to welcome Deputy Conway Walsh to the Leader's seat. Always a pleasure to have the opportunity to engage with another member of Sinn Féin, but particularly one from Erris, a part of the country that I know well, and always a pleasure to have a disagreement or an agreement on occasion with people from that part of the world. The situation in Ukraine, as I think people will appreciate, is really unprecedented. We came through the shock of a pandemic that nobody could have predicted, and we thought that we were going to enter into a period of relative stability and normality. And Vladimir Putin, by his actions, has upended all of that. We now are facing another shock in terms of prices and in terms of energy in particular. There's going to be a meeting this afternoon involving senior ministers. We'll have an opportunity to study a number of things, including how we can assist Ukraine, both in terms of our political response and our humanitarian response, and Ukrainians who may come here, but also will there be a discussion on what else we may need to do or be able to do to help households and help businesses and farmers who are going to be affected by the sanctions and the economic disruption caused by the crisis in Ukraine. Ireland doesn't have a lot of direct trade with Ukraine or Belarus or Russia, but there will be indirect effects. So even though the coal in Moneypoint now comes from Colombia, not from Russia, even though our gas supplies don't come from Russia, the impact of Russian gas being slowed or potentially even being shut, potentially will cause price rises, or already is. We've seen the price of oil and petrol and diesel and fertiliser rise very significantly in the last couple of weeks. In terms of what we need to do, first of all, I think we need to implement the actions that government has already announced. That includes the €200 being deducted from people's electricity bills. People will see that in the next couple of weeks, certainly by the end of April. The additional money for the most vulnerable households, the extra €125 in the fuel allowance, is being paid at the moment. And we'll have to give consideration to any further actions that we may take. But we do need to bear in mind that the underlying cost of energy, of coal, of petrol, of diesel, of aviation fuel, of home heating oil isn't something that we control. And that's rising more and more and more. And the proportion of which is taxation is actually falling as a consequence, not the raw amount, but the proportion of which is taxation is actually falling. So we're going to see what we can do in that context. And there will be some coordination at European level as well. And those discussions are underway.
And thank you, Taoiseach. I think we need to be updated on those discussions, because I really do think that there needs to be an immediate response, or as immediate as we can have it, because there are growing conversations in many EU countries about the ending imports of Russian oil and gas into the future. And I want to ask you as well, have the government considered what we can do as a state to secure our energy supply if this comes to pass? We were told all the time about the Corrib gas project that would secure our energy supply. But that hasn't been the case, although a proportion is supplied there. I think we really need to do something more, and something immediate. People are really, really suffering out there. I welcome the fact that you're coming to Castlebar tomorrow. You will be in a town where people are absolutely suffering under rent increases and many other cost of living increases that they're experiencing right now, and they are looking to government for solutions and for answers and for help at this very, very difficult time.
Thank you, Deputy. Taoiseach.
Thanks, Deputy. We believe that our energy supplies are secure, at least as secure as they can be in the current context. We did use Russian coal to run the power station at Moneypoint. That's now been switched over to Colombian coal, and we're not dependent on Russia or Ukraine for gas. Our gas comes from Corrib, about a quarter or a third does, which is our own gas, and the rest comes from the UK, and that's both gas from the North Sea and also LNG brought through terminals in the UK. So we're confident, at least at this stage, that we won't face any disruption in terms of the supply of gas or petrol or diesel or electricity. And of course, the long-term security issue will be resolved by renewable generation and hydrogen, but that's many years away. We are more concerned about energy prices, and everyone driving by the forecourt this morning will have seen the price of petrol and the price of diesel. That psychological €2 per litre being seen in some stations at the moment. We've already seen increases in our gas bills and our electricity bills, and unfortunately, because of the events in Ukraine, we're likely to see further rises over the next couple of weeks. So government will respond. We've responded already in terms of the fuel allowance, in terms of the household discount for electricity bills, and we're looking at other ways that we can respond. But we'd be dishonest if we didn't say to people and to business that the reason for the increases in price are largely outside of our control. The proportion of energy prices that are covered by taxation is actually now falling, but we need to look at excise, I think, in particular, to see if we might do something there.
Thank you, Taoiseach.